Do you have you TPC 142 July 21st, 2nd, July 21st, 2020. Everyone listening, this is available on Spotify, BitChute, DTube, Vimeo, VO, Anchor, blah, 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 all those before. Sean Tiger, we're going into part 3. I was going to ask you, dude, we're selling this like at the liquor store. There's some little like smoothie, like pouchy thing. It's just called Fat Cock. And so these girls come up, and one of the guys is always like, "Hey, you girls want some fat cock?" They'll be like, "Excuse me," and he'll be like, "It's a new smoothie. It comes in strawberry, watermelon."
Just goes right into the spiel.
Yeah. That
like it catches him off guard, but then he's like,
no, ma'am, no, it's this. Yeah, I need to get sponsored by them. This podcast sponsored by Fat Cocks. Woo! On that note,
thanks for explaining that to me before you said that.
Yeah. No, instead of just asking you, "Hey, Sean, what's up, bud? Want some fat cock?" So let's just jump fucking right into it. Part 3. Sean Tiger, the floor is yours, sir.
All right. Bam, leaving the second location.
leaving the mountain. Patagonia, winter.
Patagonia.
Yeah.
Actually, before I leave, I catch this meal. I'm feeling good about myself. Hey, whether I get sick the next day, we'll find out. But I'm eating good, man. I remember energy. I'm starting to feel like a man again instead of like a bitch. So at this time, I still don't know what causes a switch. We're at day 14 now. 14 days in the wilderness. I'm getting comfortable in this spot again, especially after I cooked up this Patagonia Mara. Man, felt so good. I remember eating the heart, and for some reason I saved it. I cut it all up, and I remember I had the heart. And this is stupid. I felt like some tribal type, but even though it was a tribe of myself, I just remember I was like, damn, this is the first time I've skinned a meal by myself, like gutted it, all that stuff, cooked it over a fire.
Yeah.
No grill, like no type of man-made material. And man, eat that heart. I don't know. I just felt good. Felt motivated.
Gladiator shit.
Yeah. So day 13. And then I remember I went to sleep good, somewhat on a full stomach, the fullest stomach I've ever had. And then I remember next thing, I didn't wake up at this certain time because I would learn how to use a restroom at the last moment that would carry me into the next morning. But I knew something. I was about to get up because I was like, man, I think I got to pee. Probably because all that Patagonia Mara I ate, I don't know, it just filled something up in me. And I started hearing like slight commotion outside my tarp. And I was like, uh-oh. I was like, something's up because I never hear anything. It's like, something's up. So I was like, let me mentally start thinking. I was like, I think the switch is about to happen. So I'm like, let me already start thinking about what I need to grab to get ready because they're rushing you. Mm-hmm. So about 5 minutes in, I hear this alarm, this noise thing, and it's going off. And I hear like a guy's like, Sean, hey, it's time to go. You're going to the next zone. So like, I thought I was something ready. I'm like, bam, I get up, clink, icicles hit me in my head again. And so this is how cold this place was. Your body does get used to it, but I would typically purposely wait to not get up till the sun was out.
Yeah.
I would not get up when it was dark because it's so cold.
Yeah.
I remember I started grabbing stuff to pack it and stuff it, and they don't give you gloves out there either. I'm letting you guys know they do okay with making you, I guess, not feel like you're going to die, but I'm not cozy at all.
Yeah.
So I don't have gloves. So this is my first time up this early where it's still dark in the morning. So I remember I'm excited because I'm like, well, a part of me, I was ready to go because that means I'm moving on. But I could have lived off this rabbit for about probably 3 to 4 days. Mm-hmm. because I was like, hey, I'm going to ration off this part, this part, this part. I wasn't going to, and the sucker was big. You really don't want to eat the whole thing in one sitting because you don't know where your next meal is coming from. So at that moment, I start getting distraught, like, oh, dang, I can't take this rabbit with me to the next place. So whatever, I start packing. And all of a sudden, man, my fingers, about 3 minutes in, my fingers go numb. And they're like, Sean, you got to hurry up. You got to hurry up. We got to. This time they weren't putting me on a jet. I was doing another mode of transportation. So my fingers are just numb and it's so cold. And so this is how cold it was. I had this type of netting and it was so cold when I was trying to stuff the netting into my pack. It was crunching. It was like, and I mean, if you had it out right now, like it's just flimsy, but I literally thought some parts of my I thought like my socks were going to just snap in half because they were just like solid. It was just cold as hell. And I guess like there's this type of dew that I can't remember the term, but there's type of like this wet dew that comes over and then it freezes. Something's weird, but like everything was just rock solid to try to pack in there because it's so cold. And so I remember I didn't snap off on the producer or whoever this guy was, but they rushed me one more time. They're like, Sean, we know it's cold. And I was like, look, dude, I was like, I don't have the dexterity in my fingers anymore. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, I'm literally shoving stuff in with my elbows. And I'm like, unless you guys are going to help me, then like, please stop rushing me. I can't, I'm like, I actually need to take a break, man. I'm like, I don't know what you guys like. I sort of snapped off and they were all sort of like, I think they saw how irritated I was. And I think they're just like, all right, well, if you can, just, so, and I was just really pissed off because, black people, we don't like the cold anyway. So don't be trying to rush us in the damn cold, Yeah. Oh, man, I was so irritated. So, it wasn't like they helped me or anything, but I think they backed off a little bit. I was able to focus and like I remember I chilled for a little bit, just put my arms right here to get my fingers back. From that moment I was able to pack. And they took us off to this place where I had to do these little interviews and I felt it was a little bit better because there was more woods there. I just felt warmer there. They talked to me about some stuff, and they're like, all right, well, we're about to get you ready for transport to your next location. And they put me in this vehicle, and I just remember it was a long – I really have no sense of time. It was just a long ride, but even though it was long, I'm thinking so much about where I'm going again. That where it's like I'll take all the time I can get right now just to try to rest my mind, and I'm not having to worry about make a fire right now in the morning. They told me, they were like, hey, eat as much as this rabbit as you can in transport because as soon as you get to this next location, it's done. So you got to remember, I haven't really eaten in 14 days. So to where now I could probably, especially if I had some A1 sauce or something, I could probably save a little bit for dinner or maybe, but as hungry as I was, you have this weird type of thing, I guess, where your stomach starts shrinking or something like that.
Your body goes into starvation mode and it starts basically starts lowering like the threshold for everything. Like you don't need as much food. It doesn't burn as much. It starts shutting off other shit. Yeah.
It was something like that. But then also you got to remember, all I had, it was just meat and whatever water I had collected in this little Ziploc bag type thing. And so like the meat's not marinated. It's sort of tough because you just sort of want to cook it through. You don't know.
Yeah.
And in that area, there's a virus called, I can't remember the name of this virus, but it's in rodents. You have to cook your stuff really well because it has like a 25% like fatality rate. And I can't remember the name of it, but they've talked about it on episodes of the show alone. but anyways, it's mostly smaller rodents and some big rodents. But you got to cook that stuff. You got to cook that stuff good through. So, I mean, the meat was just tough, and it was like just me eating beef jerky. Um, some parts of it was of me just eating like lots and lots of beef jerky, tough beef jerky, because I just wanted to be safe. All right, so I get to this place called the Tundra, and it looks, it's just like it's a real rocky, barren place. Um, it looks, when they took me there, when I first got there, it reminded me of almost like a Western movie,
Okay.
but just a lot of more boulders and rocks.
Not,
And I had
not like winter tundra.
no.
Okay.
It was more of just barren, brown looking.
Arizona, New Mexico.
Yeah, but with some mountains, some hills,
Yeah.
rocks.
Yeah. Okay. Fuck that.
So we get to the spot, and I just see just landscape, and then I see mountains off in the distance, and I'm like, oh man, here we go again.
God damn it.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, I see these horses pull up, and I'm like, they're not about to put me on. They're not about to put me on this horse. And so sure enough, they're like, hey man, they're like, we got the drones going, we got the cameraman ready, we're about to put you on this horse. So I'm like, okay, shit, like I'm about to be on a horse. I'm starting to feel like Django. I don't know if you ever seen the movie Django Unchained.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, let me try to have some fun with this. I'm about to be on a horse. Feel like I'm in a western. And yeah, man, they put me on this horse, and once again, time is different because I don't have a watch, and my recollection of time is just, there's no set schedule in the wilderness really.
Yeah.
And if since you move so many locations, it's like a reset. You don't really get used to anything. So bam, I'm on this horse for maybe like 2 hours, and I'm just like, when is this going to end? It was cool, but I'm like, when is this going to end? Because I just keep seeing flat. And I'm like, when am I going to get to a part where I see somewhere? What are you about to say?
Sorry, how long are you on the horse?
I felt like 2 hours.
Okay, all right.
And so I remember about 2 hours, finally, I start seeing some crevices and some different type of formations. Well, we get there, we stop, and then one of the producers on the horses, and like, you know, this is just us. Like, there's no vehicles following us or nothing. I don't know if there's some stuff already stationed there, but finally he was like, hey man, he goes, this is where we're going to drop you off. And he goes, and after that, you'll eventually, wherever you stop, we got your GPS location. We'll get the cameraman down there. And it made sense because this stuff was dangerous getting down there, because that's where the water was. And so I'm like, all right, good thing I know where the water is again. Thank goodness. I don't want to go search for water again. But to get down there, like, they warned me, like, please be careful. And it was sort of once again where I'm like, dang, dude, I'm at day 14. I'm very weak.
Yeah.
I have this pack now. When I first put it on, it didn't feel that heavy. Now it's extremely heavy because I've probably at this moment, altogether, I lost 30 pounds. So let's calculate I'm losing a pound a day. I've lost, let's say I just lost 14 pounds already.
You're losing muscle.
Yeah, and yeah, oh, definitely. Oh, hell yeah. And so I'm usually alternating every other day eating, sometimes 3 days not eating, it just depends. So I go, and immediately the thing I'm looking for while I'm going down there is something to start a fire with. And so I remember before they sort of leave, I yell and I go, hey, can I start grabbing whatever I see right now? Because I could see down in this ravine, but I saw that landscape down there was different than the landscape I was walking.
Okay.
So I just didn't want them to take my stuff away, because there was sometimes they had this weird rules about something, like, for instance, I couldn't take my food with me to the new location, even though I'd whatever.
Yeah.
So the guy was like, yeah, he was like, go ahead and grab, if it's natural, hey, grab it. Yeah. So there was these things that I never knew, but at this moment, I feel like my mind could just read certain things. And so they weren't cattails, but there were these type of plants that would stick up out the ground, and it had this fluffy type of material at the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what it was, never seen it. So something in my head was like, grab those.
Okay.
Man, while I was going out to ring, I was snatching these bitches up, I was stuffing them in my pockets, and I was just thinking, please, I hope these things are flammable. Because every location I use something different to start a fire, because they're all different locations. And let me take a sip of my water.
Enjoy those creature comforts.
Yeah. So I get down to this ravine, and it was cool. It has some cool things. I saw a bunch of dead rams down there. You know, rams with those horns that go back. I saw about 3 of those dead rams down there, which is crazy because I'm thinking either one, they might have fell off a cliff somehow, which they're supposed to have really good balance, but shit happens, you know, stuff happens. And so it's weird. I see like these dead rams where they just have sort of, you can just tell like they're real deteriorated. I couldn't get anything off of them. But so I'm looking around, and then I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going to set up camp. Bam, set up camp. So, man, this location is weird because I don't really have too many good stories, but every location had different meanings to me. So this location was my last location. So I didn't catch any fish at all at this location. I usually ate off of dandelions, and I found like a crawdad. I found one of those. And that was pretty much my meal for 15 days there. I made it 15 days off of dandelions.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah. Off of dandelions, and well, that first day I stuffed myself of the rest of the rabbit.
Yeah.
So now going through there, I was fishing, and I'm not much of a fisherman, and they had like these fish that were bottom feeders, and I really didn't understand how that worked. That you're supposed to leave your lure on the bottom, but I could see them coming after my lure, but they would not go at it. But it took me a while to figure it out. So let's say I'm going to just try to give you a quick rundown so day 15, bang, I found my camp. I did a lot of what I felt like it was meditating. What I would do is every day or every other day, I would climb up this cliff because I was in between like 2 big not mountain sides, but cliff sides. Mm-hmm. So when the sun would go over one end, it would start to get dark because of the shadow.
Yeah.
And I feel like my days were really short because I'm stuck in between 2 gigantic mountains or cliffs. Uh-huh. And so I only get X amount of hours of actual sunlight coming on me because the cliffs are in the way. Mm-hmm. So what I would do is that I would feel like I would only get 6 hours of light on me, and then it would start to shadow over. So I would climb up this cliff, and sometimes I would just go sit up there for 2 hours and just look at the landscape and these mountains far off in the distance that had ice caps. And this place wasn't cold, really. It was in between the desert and the mountains, so it was nice. It was cool. Mm-hmm. So I would do just a lot of meditation and just frustration of trying to catch fish. So I want to say about day 20. I want to say about day 22 is where I started to notice that stuff was getting bad for me as far as health. I haven't used the restroom as far as taking a number 2 at all. I take that back. When I ate the castor beans, I had diarrhea, but that was like second day. But after that, I hadn't used a restroom at all in a little over 20 days. So now the medics started coming into the picture a lot because they now want to see like how much weight you lost. They want to see where your blood sugar's at. They want to see what your vitals are like because your body's deteriorating. Like they really don't want you to die.
Yeah.
So So they started coming checking on me, and it was weird because I felt like they were the only people that I somewhat had some type of human contact with. Because a cameraman, once again, a cameraman, they don't give a damn. They don't give a damn.
They're getting the picture. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah. And so the medics, their job is to care about you. And it was nice because it felt like I finally had somebody who started caring about me. And they're like, hey, you man, are you okay? How are you feeling? Like, how are you in your head? How's your mind? You're like, let's check your heart, da, da, bam. And I was like, oh man, like I forgot what it felt like to have somebody care about me. And I
Yeah.
start feeling good, and then they do their checkup, bam, they're out of there. And it's like, wait, like hold on, like,
I'm back.
don't go anywhere. I like this feeling of somebody caring about me.
Yeah, I need you.
Yeah, and it just sort of sucks. Like they leave, and it's like I actually just didn't want to see them. Like, don't give me that feeling of caring about me, and then you leave again.
That's what Mike Durant talked about. He got shot down in Mogadishu. Mike
Okay.
Durant, Black Hawk Down. He talks about in his book Company of Heroes. Like they let like the warlords let like a Red Cross woman come see him and check him out. And he said it wasn't even anything. They just talked for like 5 minutes. But he's like, just seeing someone that like didn't want me dead. And then she left, and he was like, no, like no.
Really?
Yeah, and he was like, and it. But one thing he talks about a lot is like he started to like not like it because he was like, don't give me any hope. Like stop. When he'd hear helicopters going over and they'd be like, Mike Durant, we won't leave you. He was like, stop giving me hope. Like stop, because he's like, it's just so brutal. Even when they finally handed him over to the UN, he said he would still have panic attacks because he thought he was dreaming. And he said at one point he was on a gurney, and he grabbed the gurney, and he's like, and it was cold steel. And I was like, oh, there's no cold steel gurneys in Mogadishu.
Mogadishu.
Yeah, he was like, I'm in American hands. He was like, pillows, like cotton pillows, not like the ground. He was like, oh my God, okay, I'm good. But he was like, yeah, that's one thing he talked. That's what I talked to him about episode 95. Because he was like, I hated hope. He was like, it's not like what you think. Like, come on, you got to hold on to the hope. He was like, no, don't give yourself hope because it will kill you.
Oh man.
Yeah, so that's kind of what you're saying. It's like, hey, someone cares about you, and then they leave, and you're like, no. So it's almost like I'd rather just not have you like tease my spirit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
If I'm going to suffer, let me suffer.
exactly. Don't blue ball me.
Yeah. All right. So on top of that, we take these malaria pills out there, which one of the side effects is dreams.
They fuck you
And
up.
I cannot tell you the most vivid dreams. And unfortunately, they were about food, majority of them. I would have these vivid dreams of me like in a mall at a food court eating sampled food,
Just going nuts.
and I would wake up. And it was about one time I remember I woke up and I wanted to start crying because that my thing is that Sean, I can quit this at any given moment. And then you have these things in your head and they're going, dude, you're doing this all to prove a point for what? Your mind starts trying to talk you out of it.
Yeah.
Like, Sean, you're about out a month, man. What's your point to prove, man? You lost all this weight, your body's struggling, also that you don't want to go home and look like a loser. And you don't want people to say, why are you back already? So your mind starts looking at all these ways for you to give up.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would get so close. So I said my first 3 moments. The first time I wanted to quit was within like the first 15 minutes. My second time I wanted to quit was after I ate those castor beans. And my third is, I got to tell you this part.
Yeah.
I think this was my third. So what they do is they have this drone or whatever, and then what they do is it videotapes stuff, but they can also drop off these notes like at a spot. And what it is just for you to talk to the camera. So it'll have a list of questions such as, Tommy, you're at day 23. Now you got to remember, you're beat up, eating every other day, every 3 days, feeling weak. You're not mentally right. And you got these questions that just tug at you. So for instance, for you, what they would do to you, they would say, have 5 questions, 10 questions on there. Tommy, how you feeling on day 24? At that moment, you're supposed to look at the camera and say, it's day 24. I feel good, or I feel like crap. I want this to be over. Next question. Tommy, do you miss your family? Yeah, I miss my family. You go through the thing. So what they'll do also to get you, they'll put, Tommy, what do you think your brother would think of you right now?
Mm.
So now while you're fine, and then they get this sensitive spot in you to where you're like, and
He hit you at a weakened spot.
oh yeah, yes. And I try to paint this
They
picture of
poke the
people.
wound.
Just imagine you're already emotionally, mentally drained, and now you get something personal like that.
Yeah.
And now you start feeling. So what they did for me is that when you watch the show at this moment, everybody has cried on every episode.
Yeah.
And I remember my friends are texting me and they're like, "Hey, dude, guess what? You ain't cried. Everybody else is crying," because they're picking people apart with their family members and kids. So like Adam, this is the first time away from his wife ever, more than 2 days. Lindsay, like her grandpa had passed away. Luke, he has 4 kids at home. They're asking him about his kids. Do they think it's right that he left his kids to do this challenge? So they're going to get you. They're going to get you.
Wait, how are your friends texting you?
No, so I'm talking about as if once it's already aired, the episode's already airing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
My friends are like, "Damn, dude, you're the only one that hasn't cried yet. Like you're not no little bitch or whatever." But I'm like, "All right, just wait."
Yeah.
So I remember that was my big thing, is not to cry on TV, but they got my ass. What they did is, I want to say around day 24, my buddy Adam, I think they tried to get me a few times with my ex-fiance, but I already had that shit on lock. I knew they were going to do that, but I didn't think they were going to get me with my buddy Adam. So they asked. He was the one who's lost his. He was the one who talked me into doing it.
Yeah, he lost it.
He's a W amputee.
Yeah.
And so there was a question, and it was, Sean, like, how do you feel about the dangers of doing this versus the dangers of being in Iraq or in the military? And or how do you think some of your brothers in battle would feel about how you're doing or something?
Mm.
And so I immediately started thinking of him. And I don't know why. I was surprised it got me as emotional as it did. But that was like the trigger that got me, because unfortunately I felt like I was a representative for the military and the Marines, since I was the only veteran on the show. And then I knew that Adam would be watching it, and man, I just broke me down into tears.
Yeah.
And so I remember at that moment, because I had been doing a lot of complaining too about just how weak I felt. And then I started thinking of all the stuff veterans had went through, of some of the, a lot dying and then losing their arms. And then I had this part of where I felt, man, I've done so much complaining on this show, but I still have all my limbs. I'm still alive. And man, I just sort of broke down. And then I felt like I was probably going to quit after I broke down. I was like, yeah, man, I think I'm probably going to quit. I think this is enough. Like, I remember talking to the camera, they didn't show it, but I was like, I think I might actually, this might be done. And so there's a button on this pack that you can push. And I didn't hold it in my hand, but I remember I just sat next to it and just thought about it. And because I was just mad at myself, I was sort of mad at the question.
Yeah.
I was just very upset after that question. And then I was upset with myself for crying.
Dude,
and then
I was gonna say, what you said is, like, if they asked you a question about your brother, if for everyone listening, my brother that I lost to suicide 2014, it's 2020 now. If like, I'm at a point now that like anyone can ask me anything, and I don't even like, I've contemplated it and thought about it and gone over it in my mind so many thousands of times that I can now answer it matter of factly. Not to sound like some like detached psychopath, but you could ask me about what happened, and I would tell you with the same indifference that I could tell you about what I ate for breakfast. If, however, I'm on for whatever reason, like a couple nights and not sleeping well, I can go
not eating
just,
well.
yeah, I can just go from like detached, like, yeah, no, this happened, he did this, you know, it was tough, blah blah blah, and like a quick 2 days of just like not sleeping well or being under the weather, and you ask me, dude, it tears my mind into pieces. And then
Mhm.
like I get a good night's sleep, and the next day I'm like, why am I such a pussy? Like,
Yeah,
what the fuck? Like, I was like, all right, so yeah, that's what you're feeling like.
yeah.
And
So
what
then that happened. Let's say day 25 ish.
out of 30?
Yeah, day 25 ish. And so then I remember the medics come see me again. This moment I'm starting now. I'm like 50% like, I don't think this is good because I feel like I'm seeing them more frequent. So he goes, man, he goes, we're gonna tell you right now, man, you're not doing good at all. And he goes, just start asking me a bunch of questions. He goes, for one, you got a rapid heartbeat. Your blood sugar should be anywhere around 90 or up. At that moment, I think I was in my 60s or 70s. He was like, it's not too bad, but it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
Rapid heartbeat, low blood sugar, and I can't remember what the other thing was. Heartbeat, blood sugar. There was three big things. I can't remember.
Pressure.
Oh, and I hadn't used, what's that?
Blood pressure.
Rapid heartbeat, high, low blood pressure. That was it.
Okay.
Yep, rapid heartbeat, low blood pressure,
And low blood.
and low blood sugar.
Okay.
And then on top of that, I hadn't used the restroom in 24 days or something.
Yeah.
All right. And so I didn't know how bad that was about not using the restroom. When I got home, I looked it up and I learned about sepsis and all this stuff.
Yeah, constipation, dude. That's all that fecal matter stays inside you. Well,
It starts like,
poop is shit that you're literally shit that your body's getting rid of. There is
yeah,
no more use for it. Toxic byproducts of digestion. It's like
you
when
should
they
be
say,
keeping it in your body for a
yeah,
month.
like if you ever look at like protein shakes or something or protein powder, we always say drink a lot of water because like a byproduct of protein metabolism is ammonia, and it's
Mhm.
fine in little amounts, but it's like drink a lot. Why? You have to flush it the fuck out of your body. But yeah,
Yeah.
so if it's just sitting there, yeah, that's why like after I had my tonsils out, I was on Vicodin for like a month. Vicodin makes you constipated. So after
Oh,
like 7 days, I remember I was like, I'm kind of like fucked up on pain pills, but I was like, I don't think I've shit in a while.
mhm.
I told my mom, and she's like, that's not good. So I
Yeah.
had to get like some like X-Lax and like suppositories, but yeah, it's like, yeah, it's bad. It
Yeah.
stays in you for a long time. And that was 7 days. I can't imagine. Yeah, that's shit, dude. That I'm not a doctor, but that shit, that'll fucking kill you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I keep interrupting you. Sorry.
No, well, I at that moment they kept telling me it was a big deal, but I just didn't feel like it was a big deal because my stomach didn't hurt that much. They kept putting pressure on my stomach in certain spots, but I'm like, yeah, some of that hurts because I'm just weak,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
so
yeah. Fucking tired.
so
Yeah.
so anyways, they told me, they're like, look, stuff's not looking good for you, and I was like, all right, cool, whatever. Like, it's been a rough road for me anyway. So they left, and then see 25, 26, 27, day 27, I knew that stuff was really possibly about to go bad. They came to see me again after I went, man, I almost caught this fish. I remember it caught my line, and oh, dude, it was such an adrenaline rush. I'm like, it was my biggest one I'm about to catch. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, god dang it. I remember like I'm super excited. And man, it was probably about 20 seconds and bang, like it got off the hook somehow. I went ahead, bam, let it sink to the bottom, caught it again, then it got off again. And then I remember I was so depressed. I remember I just got up and I start walking back to wherever my campsite was. And at that moment, I saw the medical team wait for me, and they're like, "Hey, man," they're like, "We got to talk to you again." And they go, "We're hearing back from some of the producers out in LA, and we've been sending them some of like your vitals and medical stuff, and they're not too happy with it." And so this was crazy. So they asked me a series of questions, they're like, they wanted us to ask you these questions instead of doing vitals because they just want to see where you're at in your head. So there was 7 questions, and they're like, we're gonna let you know if you mess up any of these questions, you're done. And so I'm like, oh man. So obviously they asked me my full name, my birthday, and I think something of them thought I was just in like this autopilot trance mode.
Sure.
Trance to where I was just like, I could just go through the motions no matter like how I was suffering or something.
That's what's another thing. Again, Black Hawk Down, Delta Force. They talk about it. They call it drone mode. They said
Drone mode?
after 24 hours of no sleep, they said all like the pain goes away. You stop thinking I'm tired, I'm hungry, and they say they just go drone mode, and they can go for like 48, 72 hours. Where they said that you're just going. They say you're not really there. You're just going through motions. It's just like acquire, target, kill, cover, acquire, target, kill, and you just kind of they don't actually remember doing it. So yeah, so they're probably like, is Sean just going like Rambo? Is he just like reverting back to like Marine, just like going through the motions?
Yeah, I had this, and at this moment, I'm basing everything off the position of the sun. Like, okay, as long as I feel this way, like I felt yesterday, I'll be okay going in tomorrow. I don't care how I feel, as long as I can get. So they start asking me these questions, and I almost messed up on 2 where I had to actually think. They asked me. Now, I'm also letting you know too, if you talk to Navy SEALs, they'll tell you that sometimes they can't even do the most simple basic math when they're up for 3 days, or they put them through these crazy physical tasks, and then your mind is just on a different level. So they asked me what continent I was in, and that threw me off. At this moment, I did know I was in South America. But at that moment, I couldn't distinguish between continent and country for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And so they asked me what continent I was in, and I stopped, and I remember I just started looking in my head, and then he said we need something now. And then I remember I went, South America? And then he looked, and I go, South America? And then the other guy was just like, and he goes, well, he got it right. Because the way I said it, I wasn't.
Are you pregnant? How's the baby? South America.
And I was, and
I'm Ron Burgundy.
Yeah, it was just like that. And I just wasn't too sure. I actually wasn't. And I remember
but you got it
the
right.
other medic guy was like, you got it right. And then I remember I think that producer, I think he actually somewhat cared about me, but I remember he was like, motherfucker, like, I think he really wanted to get me out of there.
Yeah.
Well, and
he doesn't want you to fucking die.
And so the medic was like, you got it right. And then they asked me one other question. I can't really remember. And it took me a second or two, but I got it right. And so they're like, all right, man. And they go, we're letting you know stuff's still not looking good for you. Man, they let me go on my thing. All right. So day 29 hits. And at this moment, I'm about to be at 15 days. And I'm like, this switch has to be happening soon. Because I did 7 days, 7 days. Now it's about to be 15 days at this one location. I know a switch. All I'm trying to do is hang on to this next switch to see where I end up at. And if I'm at a spot where I can possibly get, because I know there's going to be an island somewhere in the mix. I just have the feeling. I haven't hit the Amazon yet. And I know that there's going to be an island, and I don't know about the other spot.
I thought it was 30 days.
No, 60.
Oh, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking that you got like 5 more days, and I'm like, come on, Sean. I'm like, you don't quit. Like, it's just 5 days. So they're like, all right, there's like, motherfucker's not even at like 50%.
He's just about to hit the halfway point.
They're like, this guy might keep going until his body shuts down.
Let me tell you what
Sean, I told him. Keep talking.
Yeah,
keep talking. Don't tell him that yet. Tell him a fun fact.
All right. So the biggest thing that I told them that I felt that I was a man of my word about is they asked me numerous times. They go, look, we just don't want people coming on here quitting within the first few days. They go, what is it going to take to get you to quit this challenge? And of course, you know, I had to give a good answer. Everybody's going to talk crap. Everybody's going to seem tough when you're just talking. But I had to promise myself, even though I wanted to quit multiple times, is I had to say it's going to have to be whether I break a bone, or it's going to have to be the medical team saying like, hey, we got to pull the plug on this guy because he's not going to quit. So leading up to the final day, I remember I woke up and I did have a weird feeling about stuff. Day 30, I had just this feeling, and I tell you other weird things that you may not believe unless you talk to somebody who's been in the wilderness or been in a survival situation before, is that you pick up these weird senses that are so much stronger that I don't have right now. I could smell certain things different. I could smell. Sometimes I wouldn't be able to see a cameraman, but wherever they go to take a shower, even though I could see them, sometimes I could, depending on if the wind blew, I could smell them. I'm not lying. I swear. I could smell sometimes like, okay, that's some type of soap. And I would start looking around. And I'm like, I know there's a cameraman somewhere around here. I can't see. So I would look around and I would just play this game with myself. Like, I can smell them, like where they're at. So I would look, and eventually, like, they might be up on. I'm like, oh, he's by this big boulder, like behind this rock, blending in where I can't see him. Or sometimes he'd be far out, like in some woods or something. Sometimes I couldn't see just because they're, but I could just sense something was weird. I felt like I could smell multiple people in the area, even though I couldn't see them. And I'm going to tell you, I remember one time my hearing was so sensitive because you don't have cars. You don't have traffic. So you hear the slightest things because I think that's where your body starts getting used. I'm not lying. One day I'm sitting and I hear like this slight, barely hear it. And I'm like, what is that noise I hear like trickling? And so I'm looking around. I don't see any animals. And then I see this little type of beetle.
Jesus.
Probably about, I'm not making none of this up. This is black beetle, probably about 15 to 20 feet away. And I see it just, and so I'm like, no way, that cannot be it. So I move closer to it, and still like I hear it get slightly loud, and I'm like, damn, like I cannot believe how crazy, just how sensitive everything is.
That's what LSD feels like.
Yeah. So, all right, bam. I feel something's not right. Medics come and see me again early in the morning. And I'm like, something's wrong. They don't see me this early in the morning. And they've been seeing me like every day now for the past 3 to 4 days. And I'm thinking like, in my head, I'm thinking they're trying to stop me from doing something. I'm like, I know the switch is coming. And I'm thinking, I think they don't want me to go to the next switch because of my situation.
All right.
So I'm like, I got to do whatever I can to get to this next thing. And sometimes I forget that I'm mic'd. I remember the first day I was always worrying about what I was saying, but it's just so natural that bang, wake up in the morning, put my mic, take out batteries, put them in there, hook myself up, and I'm not thinking about it. So you talk to yourself a lot because there's nobody else out there to talk to.
Yeah. So
I'm just like, there was a few times where I'm like, all right, you're good. There's a switch coming up. I know it. Just get to the next switch. I remember just talking to myself, hyping myself up. Just get to the next switch. And I think because I'm mic'd up, they're listening. They're like, this dude's Sean's just going to try to fight to get to this next switch.
Yeah.
And I'm not realizing that they're listening because I'm looking for any motivation I can get myself to the next location. So Mets came and see me, and they're like, hey, they go, look, man, this might be one of the last times we tell you, man, but they're like, you haven't used the restroom. Nothing is going in your favor. And I'm talking to them, and I keep telling them, I was like, if I was that bad, I would have quit. And they go, huh? They go, well, man. They go like, that's cool that you said that, but you haven't used the restroom. And I told them, I go, look, if I force myself to use the restroom, like, will you guys get off my back? They're like, they were like, well, look, we'll talk about it, but look, we really need you to use the restroom. So I remember, man, I went, and I remember I was praying. I was like, God, please help me to be able to use the restroom. Because as much as it sucked, I was just in this mode.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, it sucked for me even just getting up like this. If I was out there right now on day 30 just doing this,
Yeah.
I could not get up that quick. It would take me like this. I would be like,
Dude, I was in the hospital once for like a couple days and like couldn't eat, couldn't drink. And I remember I was literally at some point it'd be like get up and just go like piss in this little like urinal they have.
mm-hmm.
And I remember I have to like take off my oxygen. And I'd literally be like, oh, and like it would take me like
Struggle.
5-10 minutes to like, get up from bed, go across the room. And I used to be like, and I remember I'd always think, like, never will I take advantage of like what I just did. Sean, hold on, run to the bathroom, come back. I was like, I would literally like, I would feel myself having to piss, and I would start like mentally bracing myself. And I'd be like, okay, it'd be like a like 10 minutes of bracing my mind, followed by like 10 minutes of action, followed by like resting. It was like a 30-minute like
ordeal.
Versus like now you just get up and fucking gotta piss. Yeah, so it's you start becoming like calculated in your. Not that I was ever stranded out in the middle of fucking nowhere, but like
Yeah.
I get the idea of what you're saying.
So, by the way, what time are we at right now?
46:30.
Cool, because I gotta get. Don't let me forget about the Nazis.
I haven't written down Argentinian Nazis, and I'm like, we're touching on that.
All right, so.
But don't rush the story. We can do
all right, here
once we do all of them, I'm gonna stitch them all together and just upload one like 10-hour episode as well. If people just want to watch through it. Don't. We got nothing but time, man. I don't give a fuck. You can tell the story over the next decade for all I give a shit.
So they come, I go, and I'm like, God. At this moment, me and God would be I think we best friends because I didn't talk to him a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you this: no way in hell I thought I was gonna make. After I went through my first 2 days, I said, "There's no way in hell I'm gonna make it a week." I said, "There's absolutely. I've done thrown up, done shat, diarrhea everywhere. There's no way in hell I'm making it to 7 days." Look, I'm not. Some people will take credit for a lot of things in their life. I can't take credit for everything in my life. I just can't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it's a miracle that I'm even here. So I was like, God, whatever you can do, please help me to be able to use the restroom. Please, 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 please. Because at this moment, it's do or die in my head. Like, Pete, there's this part where at the beginning, I'm like, dude, this is a show. Who cares? If you go to quit, quit. But then there's this part of me that's like, nope, not hell no. This ain't a game. Like, it's become like all the struggle I already went through. It's past the game now. Yeah. Like, it's a part of my life where now I believe like it's life or death.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to separate that I can quit now.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, man, I had like this 7-minute battle of just squeezing. I remember I was pushing in my stomach with my hands. I was crashing out. I remember I started sweating, and I would do these breathing patterns, and then I would just like grunt. Man, I just went through this intense battle. And finally, I was able to use the restroom, and I could just tell, like, even what came out of me was like, did not look right, because this has been in me for like a month. Yeah. Jesus. And I was like, wow. And I was like, well, I use her. And I remember afterwards, like, I remember I got these leaves, cleaned myself up. And I remember afterwards, I was just like, whew. Like, I just felt that I had ran like a marathon. So I remember I hobbled back to where my camp was. And the medics were like, well, and I was like, I used the restroom. And they're like, I was sweating. And then they go, one of the medics was like, I don't think you use the restroom. I think he's, and I was like, I can show you where I use the restroom. I think they thought I was lying. Yeah. So I showed them, and then they went and they're like, they got some samples, I guess, so that they could test if I had like some type of virus or whatever. Yeah. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm like, yeah, motherfuckers. Yep, I'm about to go. Y'all can't stop me. That's like, I got this. So y'all know let's not try to get sidetracked, but y'all know where sometimes in black culture, people are like, yeah, the cops hating on us, always trying to hold the black man down type thing. Like, that's how it was. It's like, yep, y'all trying to hold me back.
Trying to
Y'all don't
hold
want
me down.
like y'all don't want me shining.
Yeah.
And so even though like I'm exhausted, I'm sitting there like, oh shit, yep, y'all got no more excuses. So they come back to me.
It's like the first
They
time.
come back to, what's up?
It's like being a kid. It's like the first time you like use the toilet by yourself, and you're like fucking proud. You're like, yeah, I just shit. Go check it out. I don't need a diaper. Fuck out of here. I'm a big boy.
So
Fuck the medic.
so they came back, and he was like, all right. He was like, hey, you use the restroom. He's like, but we're gonna check your other stuff. And he goes, I'm really worried about your heart rate now, you're like your blood pressure now. Let's do these and then we'll talk. They ran all that stuff, and then this is why I knew something was up. At the moment, I was like, you son of bitches. So all of a sudden, I remember he's writing down stuff, and as he's writing down stuff, he's like this. Then another thing, he's like, I see him, he calls another one over. They're talking in Spanish or whatever, Portuguese or whatever. And I'm like, oh man, here they go. Here they go with this bullshit now. He writes down some stuff, and all of a sudden I see him he gets the radio, and I'm like, all of a sudden I see two more people come. I see another producer, and I'm like, I look at him and I'm like, oh no, I'm like, nah, man. And he's like, Sean, hold on, whatever. I see these dudes like in a huddle talking, one on the radio. And so finally, this is how I knew it was a wrap. I think one of the main producers who wanted to pull the plug on me like 4 days ago, he comes up to me. He's like this. Like, so he walks up.
Coach.
Right when you know somebody takes a knee, you know either somebody's about to propose, or you about to hear some badass fucking news.
I need to talk to you, bro.
He came down and kneeled, and the two other medics are there, and he's like, hey, Sean, he's like, look, man, I just need you to be honest with me, man. He's like, how you feeling, man? I'm like, I told you I'm good. I'm here. I was like, I just used the restroom. And he's like, all right, man. He was like, look, man, he goes, look, we understand this is a show and everything. And he goes, man, I try to let the medics do what they do. And man, I know you're a Marine. And he goes, I just feel that there's something in your head that's not right, of where now you just like, now you in your head, you think this is like life or death type of situation. And it shouldn't be that way. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, I was like, I'm fine. Like, I'm past anything you want me to do. I'm passing it. He was like, you're pretty much failing everything as far as the medical side.
I'm passing all my tests. No, you're not, bud. You're barely fucking alive. So
then my comeback was, and I'm like, I got it that y'all got these little tests for people. I go, but mentally, like, I'm excelling these stuff. Y'all saying I shouldn't be doing this stuff, and I'm still doing it physically. And he's like, all right. He's like, man, he was like, look, man, he goes, I've been going back and forth with LA, and they go, they like that you're willing to plow through this. And he goes, but they can't override the medics. And he's like, and I'm the producer at this location. He's like, they can't override me. And he goes, man, if you're going to get mad at somebody, man, you're going to have to get mad at me. He's like, man, we're sorry, man, but he's like, your time on the wheel is over. And then, like, I remember, like, I thought that if that point came, I thought in my head, because I used to think about it, like, what if they tell me, like, it's over? I thought I would have been like, woo!
Yeah.
Finally, I'm about to go eat some food.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that's how it would turn out. Like, hey, y'all said I couldn't keep going.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
Man, dude, it hurt so bad. And I remember, man, I felt that, man, look, I'm about to put my life on line. Now y'all tell me, like, I can't no more? Because this is all I knew for the past 30 days. This is my new life.
Yeah.
this was my new life. And so, dude, I remember I just started crying right there because I felt like if I want to fail, let me fail on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Don't assist me.
Yeah.
Which I do take blame. Yeah, I should have done a better job. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. But survival shit just doesn't go perfect.
No, there's no way to fucking plan that.
Yeah. So, man, I just remember I just started crying, man. And then
I thought you were gonna say that the producer comes over to you, and you're like, "Dude, I've been passing all the medics tests." I thought he was gonna be like, "What medics? What are you talking about?"
like I'm hallucinating something or
Yeah,
something.
like Sean, what the fuck are you talking about? The medics. And they show you the video, and there's just nothing.
No medics. So yeah, I'm just
talking
talking
like a rock and like a dead skunk, and you're like, "Guys, I'm fine." Why is he telling this bird where his poop is? You're like, "Sir."
Yeah. So so that happens, man. I start crying, and then they bring this damn stretcher out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not getting that damn stretcher.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, you are. I'm like, and they're like, Sean, they like, we got a long hike to get out. They're like, you remember what it took for you to get down here? You got to go back. And I'm like, but now I'm just so mad. I'm like, no, I ain't getting that damn stretcher. I'll make it out. I'm like, I can't take the pack. Like, if somebody can take my pack.
Yeah.
And they're like, nah, man. So I had to get in. So this is a slap in the face that nature will do to you. I hop in this damn stretcher. They carry me out. Plus, I think they wanted to look freaking cool for TV. Like, I probably wouldn't have made it. I think I could have made the hike out as long as I didn't have my pack. But whatever. So I'm on this stretcher thing. My biggest thing I was terrified of was snakes, especially if I got to the Amazon. So I remember – all I remember is I was like, God, just please keep snakes away from me, blah, 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 blah. But by day 20, I remember flipping over rocks trying to look for snakes because I didn't give a shit. Well, when you're hungry,
he's like, I'm going to kill him.
When you're hungry, you don't get – that's why I try to tell you, with the Cayman, there's a part to where you're like, you just don't give a damn no more.
Yeah.
And so I remember I was flipping over rock, couldn't find any snakes. And I'm like, what the hell? So I'm on the stretcher. About 10, 15 minutes of me being on the stretcher, I hear this medic person go, whoa, 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 whoa. And I'm looking up at the sky, and everybody's like, oh, snap. And they're like, whoa, whoa, watch out. And they're like, there's this big snake. And I'm like, I'm literally in a stretcher, and I'm still hungry. So I'm like, what? I'm like, what? I'm in a stretcher like, Sean, should have like, I'm like, motherfucker. I'm like, 15 days here, I don't see one snake.
Let me at him.
Yeah, now there's one. Now there's a snake. It was just such a slap in the face, man. I was just so mad, like son of a bitch. And so, so then they tell me, they take me up to this spot, and I'm like, at this moment, I'm like, look, y'all done told me everything's over. Give me food now. Mm-hmm. And they're like, look, we got to wait because when we give you food, it's going to take time for your body.
Yeah.
Whatever. They give me some soup. Fast forward, they talk to me. They take me to this other center. They weigh me and all this stuff. And this is my first time I see myself in a mirror. So, like, at first I couldn't really take it in. But then they put me in this room, and they're like, this is where you're going to be for, like, the next 2 days. Because we're still trying to figure out where we're going to send you next. We still got to send you to the actual hospital down here in South America. Because right now they're just doing medic stuff.
Yeah.
And they can't take blood or any of that really. So, before they got me on that stretcher, my blood sugar was at like 47. Jesus. And they're like, Sean, there's a good chance you could go into a coma. And so I was like,
you're like, let me at the snake.
So I didn't understand, but now like it makes sense. So anyways, they put me in this room, and I remember it's the first time I see myself in a mirror. And then I almost cried again for the third time because I just couldn't believe how my body looked.
Take it in. Yeah.
I was like, oh, because you look at the water and you can see your reflection in the water, but it's moving and it's, you just really can't see details. And then I was just like, oh, snap, this is crazy. And then I remember I took my first shower in 30 days, and I just saw this dirt and stuff coming off me. And I was so dirty. Like, I just remember it took like 5 minutes of me just pouring soap and shampoo in my hair to get a lather. And
how Did they let you go take a shower by yourself? Like if you're so weak, or has it been a little? Is it?
So okay. So what they did, they gave me this. I had soup first. They're like, we can only give you soup first, and then I don't drink that much soda. I don't drink that much at all. But I kept having these crazy cravings out there for stuff I would normally ever eat. For whatever reason, I kept craving lobster. I would crave popcorn, and I would crave soda.
Pregnant women have like crazy cravings, and it's because they're like deficient in something, and their body's like, you need this thing now. Maybe there's just, if it's salt, instead of thinking you need salt, instead you have this, you're like, I need Pringles. And the reality is like, yeah, you just need salt. I was gonna say the other thing with food, like concentration camp victims, some of them actually died after they were liberated.
When they start eating.
They ate so much food, but then it would just fucking like split their stomach.
Yeah.
Bleed out. Yeah.
Yep. There's another disease of that where when you're starving, and then if you eat too much, it's not that your stomach will split. It's called something else, but you'll end up dying. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if Bear Grylls or somebody, that dude who was on the Wild Man, he did the thing alone by himself where I can't remember, Wild Survivor something. That got Les Stroud. He talked about it too. I think where it's not that your stomach will split open, but like all these nutrients rushing your body like at once, something happens and you end up dying like within a day or two.
Your body can't take it. It's because everything. Yeah. So it's like if you like drink. It's why like heroin addicts like die. It's like they get their tolerance up because they're getting higher and higher doses, and then they'll get clean, and then when they relapse, they go back to the last dose they used.
Oh,
well, that's their highest dose. So now they're taking enough to like kill 5, and they die.
Yeah.
Like if you haven't gone to the gym in a year, and then you go back and you're like, rack it up, baby. Pick it up and it breaks your
shoulders pop out.
Yeah. That's how I'm going to be, man. I haven't been since before quarantine. I'll fucking go in there and break my arms. Sorry, go on. So you're in the shower. They give you soup, craving.
Shower soup. So I come back down, but I'll let you know, I've only seen now in the past 30 days, maybe about 4 or 5 people in a group. And those were the producers, the medics, and the people that carried me out. And then I don't know all the people that are working behind the scenes. All I remember is I come back down to this little dining hall thing they had set up. Mm-hmm. And I see like all these moving parts, but there's curtains. So I remember they're like, hey, when you're done, come back, meet at the little dining facility and be like, we're going to have food and stuff there. By this moment, I've only had soup now, and that's been like my only meal of like the past few days. And so I get down there, I open this door, man, there's like 20, 25 people. And like, I just remember they all turned at me and they started clapping. And I just sort of stood there and they were just like, congratulations. And they just like clapped for me for about 2 minutes and I about started crying right there. You remember, I'm still super emotional about everything.
Yeah. You're not balanced.
Yeah, and I've never seen this many people in 30 days now.
Yeah. You're probably just like, what the fuck is this?
It was
Can I eat them?
Well, and then on top of that, I see all these plates laid out, and they brought all this food out, and they had me sit next to the medic. His name was Gustavo. He like monitored me, and
shout out Gustavo.
Yes, Gustavo, man, he was a cool dude. And so, man, they bring all this food out, and I didn't touch not once. I remember, lady put the first thing on my plate. Gustavo's like, go ahead. And I'm like, nah, man, I want to wait. I was like, I feel like I've had dreams about this. I want everything to be on my plate, and I'm going to look at it. Like, they couldn't get it because they weren't going. They saw, but I was like, everybody kept saying, shh, eat. And I'm like, wait. I want everything on my plate so I can see it all at once. I want my drink so I can fully appreciate this meal that I'm about to have. I'm like, y'all don't even get it. And like they didn't get it, but they understood. They were like, so I waited till I had my plate with everything. And I remember I just prayed and I was like, hey, Lord, thank you for this journey. whatever's in front of me. And I remember I almost started crying again because I felt that once I took a bite, I was going to wake up again.
Yeah.
I had this feeling that I was going to wake up and I was going to be back out in the wilderness.
Fuck that.
Yeah, I felt like it was a dream. I kept telling them, I'm like, I feel like this is a dream. I feel like this is a dream. They're like, no, man. They're like, your journey's up, man. This is your life's about to start new again. So I remember, man, I got through 3 plates and I went through 2 desserts of ice cream and Gustavo finally cut me off. I feel like I could have did another 2 plates. I was still hungry. I went through, Gustavo said, Sean, I'll let you eat way more than you even should have had.
Yeah.
And he's like, you got to stop. And I was so, like, I started getting mad again because I'm like, motherfucker. Like, I had went through And so this is what I had planned out too, is I saw this area that they had where they had some potato chips. I was like, cool. I was like, fuck it. I'm like, when I pass that area, I'm gonna fucking take some fucking chips and eat them in my bed in the night. So I remember like they stopped me and I walked and they fucking had put all these fucking chips up where this area that I was walking by. I was like, fuck. Cause dude, I got back in my bed and I was still hungry.
I believe
like I was satisfied with what I ate, but like I was just still hungry.
Yeah.
Okay, bang. That's done. I go do all this other miscellaneous shit at the hospital. We go to this, they take me out to actual city. I go to this hospital, they film that, they take my blood, and then we go to this one spot and I could sort of tell that one of the producers makes a comment. I remember when I would go certain places, people would just look at me. And then one of the producers, he's like, hey, man, he goes, Sean, he goes, dude, I bet you're the only black person probably within like 100, 200-mile radius. And I was like, you know what? I think about that too, but I just didn't want to say anything. He was like, because he was just noticing how some of the servers and stuff would just look and they'd be like, he said that they would ask like, who am I or something? Because I would be with a group of people.
Yeah.
And they were like, who is this guy or something? Like
this person, yeah.
Yeah. And so now we're gonna end it with the Nazi conversation here.
Yeah.
All right. So we go to this place. This shit is nuts. All right. We go to this place. It's Bariloche, Argentina. Bariloche. They're like, hey, we're about to transport you to this spot. You might see some Americans there, but it's still going to be, it's a tourist spot, but it's going to be still a lot of Argentina. You might see a few Americans there maybe, but it's because if they want to ski or something like that. So this is where I first realized, like, dang, I'm back in civilization. We get there. I remember my ears started hurting because I heard traffic. Traffic was coming, cars honking. Everything was so loud. Like, actually, it wasn't, but it was just so loud to me. It was my first time being in, like, civilization. Cities, buildings, hotels was so loud. But then a part of me, when I first got there, I was like, all right, I get this is a tourist spot, but something doesn't look right. I don't feel like I'm really in Argentina. Something's up. I was looking at the architecture of the buildings, and I was like, this is weird. This doesn't, I'm not from South America.
Look a little like Germany.
So I'm like, this architecture does not, whatever. I've been in the wilderness for 30 days. What do I know?
Yeah.
So finally, I have like this handler chick, and we start going to restaurants. I remember this ice cream joint I would hit up every day because I would crave ice cream too. I was at this city for about 5-6 days before they could get me a flight out. And then my last flight would finally be back to America. And so we go to this one spot, and it had this weird German name. And so finally, one of the producers, I don't know if it was the day before or something, I asked him, I'm like, what's up with the architect? Like, what's up with the architecture here? And he just looked at me, and this, like, a lot of these producers they've been to. You look at their passports; they have like 70 stamps on their passports.
Yeah, yeah,
They've been everywhere. So I think when they go to these places, they just hear the info that goes behind everything.
yeah.
And so he was like, "Oh man," he's like, "You ready for a history lesson?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Before I tell you anything, like, what do you think?" He's like, "What made you ask that question?" So I'm like, some of these buildings look new, and I go, but like, I'm looking up at some of these buildings on the hillside, and it looked like it's something I would see in Switzerland. And he was like, close. He was like, try some other countries. I'm like, France. He's like, close. And I'm like, Germany. He's like, yup. And I'm like, he's like, I want to help you through this. He started talking me through it. And he's like, why do you think that there might be German buildings all the way down here in South America near Patagonia? I'm like, dang, man. Like, I was like, I just don't know. And then he was like, all right, man. He's like, I'm going to help you out. He's like, this is where Nazis came after the war. Like, they fled to other places, but this was like a hotbed of where
Joseph Mengele, all of them.
Yeah, and he goes, he's like, they actually captured some high-ranking officials and generals in Bariloche.
I'll send you a book called "Killing the SS." It's the Mossad, the Israeli CIA. They actually came to there and kidnapped Adolf Eichmann, the architect of the final solution. They kidnapped him and put like makeup on him and drugged him so he looked like an old man. They took him out on a flight to Tel Aviv, and then they put him on trial in Israel and hung him. But yeah, then
So
Israel was hunting down these motherfuckers for like 30, 40 years after the war. They found Mengele after he was dead and buried. They dug up his grave and found him. Israel they took no prisoners, man. But yeah, dude, they all went there because the government, I cannot remember. I just finished this book. It's but the government they were sympathetic to the Nazi cause. They were some fucking neo-Nazis themselves. They were sympathetic to the cause, so they'd have them come work for their security services because they were racist as fuck. They were like, hey, want to get rid of our undesirables? And these Nazis were. One of the quotes was, when they asked me to come work from Adolf Eichmann, when they asked me to come work for their state police, it whetted my appetite for murder again. These guys are fucking psychopaths. But yeah, sorry. So yeah, no, they all went there, and they had little German bars, and they'd build townhouses that reminded them of the fatherland. Fucking psychopaths, dude. So yeah, you're picking up on it.
Yeah, it was really weird just seeing these distinct, and they weren't crappy buildings. They were good looking buildings.
Oh yeah, they came over with a lot of gold.
They were good looking buildings. It wasn't like just some bullshit huts they made up. And so he told me all that, and this is what I want to say before we stop here.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I'm a conspiracy theorist, but the military opened my eyes to a lot of things. People talk crap about like a lot of other conspiracies, like going to the moon, flat Earth. There's one I saw about whether the Holocaust really happened. Yeah. So like, my thing is, I've been skeptical on all of those, and I've looked into all of them. Whether I believe them or not, no, but like, the military definitely opened my eyes to things that were being reported back to America, but wasn't actually happening. So me being in the military is what definitely made me start looking into conspiracies. And some I'm like, I actually do believe in now. I'm not going to say which ones, but people judge you on that stuff. But so one I saw was that
I love conspiracies. I love them. You're not, don't worry. I'm not shooting you down. I love these. I love them all. What the ones I do or don't believe in, I still love them all.
Even if I saw a conspiracy about dragons really existed, if I saw something good enough worth my time, I'd be like, let me go ahead and look at it. Let's
see what the argument is.
Evidence supports it.
I'll give you 5 minutes. Convince me dragons are real.
How do I know? Was I alive back then? No. Yeah. So how do I know? Yeah. I'm just taking what other people who are dead told me. Yeah. So
keep an open mind.
Yeah. And to be fair, before I go back into the whole Nazi thing, now, what are we at as far as time? We're about to shut it down anyway, but where are we at on time?
Hour 14 and 30 seconds.
All right.
1 hour, 14 minutes, 30 seconds.
Okay, so when I was in school, I don't know about you. Some people might get mad, but I sort of don't care. When I learned about Thanksgiving, this is what I felt like they taught me in school. I felt like they smoothed everything over and they just said, hey, there were Native Americans here. We came as pilgrims. We just made peace with
Yeah,
Native
we all got
Americans
together, made some peace, and
and we celebrated.
hey, and then they said peace. You can have the East Coast, and we're like, cool. And then some time
Right.
passed, and it's 2020.
Right. So now this is my point again about why I'm open to conspiracy theories, because I thought as a kid, did I remember me coming to school dressed as an Indian sometimes? Maybe fourth grade, I'd be a pilgrim. I would alternate every other year. And we, oh shit, we just be eating and stuff, and it was cool.
Yeah.
Like, dude, that's cool. Like, they came over here, made peace, and everybody got along.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, as I get older, internet opens up, and I'm like, what? Like, I think
Genocide, biowarfare, smallpox blankets, slaughtering them, Andrew government fucking government sanctioned slaughters. Like,
yeah. And so now, I'm like, what the hell? Like,
so
no wonder there's conspiracy theories, because I was taught that and then it made me think, I'm like, I don't think I've ever actually met a Native American in my life.
Yeah. Seriously, it's so yeah. Then it's then the next natural step is, what else is real?
What else?
Fake.
Thank you. That is my point.
Yeah.
That's what people don't get, is that some of the conspiracy theories are probably garbage, but now do I really know? Because as a kid in my social studies books, which everything, like, dude, that's what I'm supposed to go by, because that's what they're teaching me.
Yeah, and mine, they all sat at a picnic table and fucking passed the bread and butter, and it was, hey, there's gravy.
So I pulled up this thing, and it made me mad. I saw this conspiracy theory thing about how the Holocaust was fake. Right when I saw it, I was like, oh, how fucking dare them? And I'm like, I tried to get into it because I'm like, look, let me put
open mind,
but I've learned aside.
Yeah.
And I tried to, and I just couldn't finish it, because I was like, I just don't see how hard. I just don't know how they could. And I was like, and on top of that, let's say if it was, like, you cannot fake films of, you tell me all these people were willing to be filmed, like, with their bones sticking out.
Yeah.
And then
where would they get these people?
Yeah. And then on top of that, I'm like, I was in another country where I saw landscapes of fucking German houses.
Yeah.
Like,
why would they have fled? What did they?
Yeah. Why they could have just filmed that there? Like, why would there be German places where these people fled in another continent? And I was like, yeah. I tried to watch it, but I'm like, yeah, I just can't get behind that one.
Yeah. Well, Eisenhower was brilliant. Eisenhower, well, one, there are still Holocaust survivors living today. And it's like, okay, so that's like another thing. Thanksgiving, they're all dead, but like, there's still. But Eisenhower, you should look it up. There's actually an Eisenhower quote where he came through, and saw one of them, like Dachau or something, and one of his things was, he told the Allies, he did two things. One, he went and got the German people from nearby towns and made them all look at it. It was like, this is what your government was doing. And then the next thing he said was, I want you to empty, like, your film. I want you to use up all of your film, taking videos and pictures, because he said one day, a long time from now, people are going to start doubting this happened. Eisenhower was brilliant. Eisenhower said, film it all. Open the rail cars, get the bodies, get the bones, get shit that is hard to fake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eisenhower was fucking genius.
And that's crazy, because he's sort of right, because obviously there's videos about how it was fake now.
Yep. And Eisenhower's granddaughter is alive, and she's fucking crazy.
Oh, she is?
Yeah, or maybe it's great-granddaughter. Yeah, she's alive, and she kind of uses her last name. She said that she was teleported to Mars by the CIA.
Oh, okay, yeah. But yeah, man, that's pretty much like the whole 3 parts. Hey, I guess if we do
we got to go into another one, because you said you had to see a fucking psychiatrist after.
Yeah. I can tell you the back end of what happened of me being on that, and then, do the ninja word thing. But that's pretty much the first 3 zones of what I've endured. Yeah, there's like little pieces here and there, and then even like the guy from Black Hawk Down of
Mike Durant.
yeah, Mike Durant.
Durant, Durant.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. The similarities of things that he said. That's twice, like you've mentioned him, of some of the similarities.
I'll send you his not the book Black Hawk Down, but his book in the Company of Heroes. Because Black Hawk Down is all about the actual battle, the plane getting shot down, Delta Force going through and just murking motherfuckers. In the Company of Heroes is all about his story. Very little action, all psychological.
Yeah,
fucking crazy, dude. I almost cried listening to it. It's fucking intense. I'll send
that's
that
the
as
thing
well.
about him and that nurse, man.
Yeah, Red Cross. Yeah.
Yeah, send me that, man. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty much my first 3 zones, and then I guess we'll do a part 4.
Fuck
and I'll tell you about the back end. We'll talk about a little bit of the Ninja Warrior stuff, and man, I guess we'll leave it at that, or see what happens after that. So
you should I want to start if you're I don't know if you know Joe Rogan. Obviously he has like 1,500 episodes, but he has these little episodes that aren't technically Joe Rogan episodes. They're called Fight Companion.
Okay.
And it's where they watch like MMA, because someone like me that has no interest in that, everyone, I'd always be listening to Rogan podcasts and then eventually devolve into MMA commentary, and I'd be like, I don't give a fuck. And I think he kind of picked up on that, and so now he does Fight Companion, and it's for people that want to. So not that I want to make Tinfoil Companion, like tinfoil hat. I want to start doing episodes that are just purely for conspiracies and shit. I actually talked to Nick Phelps about that, where it's you just come in and it's just all bets are off. Everything is fair game. It can be fucking dragons. It can be the fucking Thanksgiving. It can be. We'll do that one. We'll do that in a couple weeks. I want to start doing a Tinfoil Companion.
Okay.
And it's so for normal listeners, if they don't want to listen to fucking aliens and the moon and shit, they can tune out. But I want to do Tinfoil Companion.
Okay, cool. Yeah, man.
Fun as fuck.
He's probably good on that because he did the military, and I definitely have my opinions. Me and Nick, we have some different interests and stuff, but some things we agree on, we agree hard on too. So
yeah. I'm excited to do those. Those will be because normally when you start talking about conspiracies, I don't mean you, I mean like me.
Yeah.
I always have to like preface it with like, this isn't necessarily what I believe, but I kind of want
interesting.
Yeah, I want to do separate episodes for them, so there doesn't have to be that preface of, this isn't what I actually. It can just be, hey, this is a conspiracy episode. If you're not interested, tune out. Just like balls out. Just like talk about anything, like goddamn lizards in the White House, stupid shit. Where you can talk about UFOs and Roswell and fucking everything. I love it all. Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll do those. But yeah, man, let's do you want to do? I'll text you after this. We'll set up the next one.
All right, man. Thanks for having me on again, man. I'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks for doing it, man.
No problem,
buddy. Peace.
Later.